Hey guys, Ulrich here. So today what I want to do is tag on to what we discussed yesterday. I uploaded a video with regard to these fretboard stickers that you can easily apply to the fretboard of your guitar. Essentially, those are visual clues to help you identifying what notes you're playing in those respective frets and on our strings. So I shared with you yesterday that I initially wasn't all too fond of two things. First of all, the way it looks, and I still don't like it, but that's not the point. The point is it useful or not? And that I have changed my opinion on a little bit, and I explained that yesterday. So what I want to do today is continue what we did yesterday, or what we alluded to. We used the chord A minor as an example, and we assessed that in order to play an A minor chord, we need three notes or pitches, namely A, C, and E. And that's very easy to remember because it just spells over at ace. And plus I do like the sound of A minor. It's something I gravitate to naturally. I think we all have certain harmonic favorites, if you will. So what I want to do today is just kind of do a little bit more of a deep dive, what I hinted at yesterday. But yesterday was about, okay, are these things useful or not? We assessed, or at least I feel, yes they are. Yes they are, but so today I want to show you how I go about that by using the A minor chord form as an example. If we focus in on the top three strings, and when I say top three strings, I mean the high E string. Let me just turn that up a little. You got an E here. You got your B string, and you got your G string. So looking at these three strings, finding now, starting from the top of the fretboard, working my way down, only on these three strings, identifying clusters that are in close enough proximity to each other for me to easily grip, that's my objective right now. So if I start with these three strings, the first thing that jumps out to me is I already have an E by just playing the E string. That's my first pitch. That's 1 out of 3. Now, is there anything else I can use up here that would give me a C or an A? Well, just look at it. If you just, let me just tilt that guitar a little bit. I want to make sure you can't see it. On the B string right here, I have a C. So now I have E and C. I need an A, and the A is right here, 1 fret over. So E, C, and A. Here's my A minor. So that's the first form of A minor on this specific group of strings. Again, it's the high E string, the B string, and the G string that I can play reasonably, right? So there's some super guitarists, they do these insane stretches just to play these forms, these weird forms. And they're not weird, let me take that back. There's nothing wrong if you just decided you want to play an A minor, I don't know. So here's an E and an A, right here, E, A, you can see that, E, A, right here. So what if I just played E, A, and this C down here on this, can you see it? Like here, I don't do anything with my middle finger, with my ring finger, but just here, these three strings, that's an A minor. So that's A minor right here. It's the same chord. It has the same ring, it has the same feel, it has the same emotion, if you will. It might sound slightly different. That's just because certain notes are more dominant than others. But at the end of the day, that's just an A minor chord. But let's go back to our exercise. So we assessed we can play an A minor like this right here, starting from the left on the top 3 strings. Now moving down, where is my next cluster of A, E, and C? Or A, C, E, however you want to think of it. Now, if I just move down here, you see here, there's really nothing here that helps me. I'm looking for A, E, and C. And guess what? Right here in the 5th fret. And we talked about that yesterday, right? That's easy to spot. A, E, and C right there. That's my second A minor. So I got one right here. And on the same group of strings, the second option I have is right here. Easy to finger, right? You just use your index finger. You can play it that way if that's easier for you. Anything that works for you is fine. I suggest you play it that way. It has certain reasons why I say that, but it doesn't matter ultimately. Okay, moving on. Where's the next group and cluster that allows me to play this A minor chord reasonably, right? So, okay, I see right here, there's a C, there's an E up here, and an A here. Awesome. Let me see, can you see that? Maybe you can see it now, right here. So C, E, and A makes for A minor. Okay, let's recap. Here, so now I have 3 options to play that A minor chord on the same group of strings. I can now extrapolate that and just keep going by using the same methodology, if you will. So looking for my next a cluster of A, C, and E on these 3 strings. Now, unfortunately, I don't have decals for the frets beyond the 12th fret. I just happen to know that, well, first of all, here's the E, you can see that, and I know next to B is a C, and I know that G, G sharp, and the next one is an A, so I have A, C, and E right here. And what that is, that specific chord, is the exact same chord, 1 octave moved up from this one. This chord, with this chord, I don't need the index finger because the function of my index finger is being met by the nut here, right here above the neck. So I don't have to use my index finger. I can just play the open string. But as I now move into the 12th fret, then this is my bar. So this is the same thing as that, right? Just moved into the 12th, so now I need my index finger. But then moving on, what was the second form? In the 5th fret, these 3 notes, right? Which means I got them here. Just move everything 1 octave up. And then the 3rd form was this here. And that, now I have to go here. I mean, I wouldn't want to play it here. Just the intonation is a little bit off, but that's the theory behind it. And now what you can do is you can do that with another group of strings. You can now just say, for instance, well, now we first looked at these 3 strings, the high E string, the B string, and the G string. What if we just move everything now 1 step up, 1 string up? So we're going to ignore the high E string, but now we want to find A, C, and E on the B string, the G string, and the D string. Same methodology, same methodology. You start from here, from the right. So the first thing that comes to mind is, oh yeah, that's C. I got it right there, perfect. Well, but now I need A and E. Where is A and E? Close enough. That's right there. And guess what? Look at that chord form. Here's your regular A minor chord. That's probably the first form of A minor that all of us learn. I don't know if that's true, but that's kind of the standard open position of the A minor chord. You would play it like that, right? So you got that right here on your next group of strings. Now you just move up. Again, you need A, C, and E on these strings. So So if I just move slowly, nothing here, nothing here. Now, as I approach the 5th fret, well, as we learned yesterday, oh, there's this beautiful cluster of A, E, and C. So the A we ignore now because we don't want to use the high E string, but we can use the E and the C. Okay, great. So let me just put my finger here, but I need a B. I'm sorry, I need I have an E and a C. Now I need my A. Where is the A? Right here. It obviously cannot be on either one of the strings that I'm already playing. So it must be on this string. There must be an A somewhere, and it's right here. And this is my next form of A minor. Just listen to that. A minor. Next form. Sounds very, very similar, right? Well, it's the same chord. It's an A minor. Moving on. Where's my next cluster? I'm going to speed that up a little bit. It's right here. E, A, and C. Perfect. That's something I kind of knew, but it would have never occurred to me over the course of playing, if I'm in the middle of noodling, that hey, how elegant is that? How cool is that I have an A minor available right here if I needed it, right? And so forth. So you can then just continue, and then the next form would be this, which is the exact same as that, just one octave up, and then so forth. And you can continue that whole thing. What you can also do is approach that a little bit differently. Our approach was now kind of horizontal from the left to the right. What you can also do is look at it vertically. And for instance, you probably know, and we talked about that yesterday, this chord here. And it might be deceiving, but I'm not doing anything with my middle finger. I don't want to stick it out too much. I don't want to offend you. But that's a common form of A minor. It's just you bar the 5th fret altogether, and then you cover your E and A with your index finger and your ring finger. I'm sorry, with your ring finger and your pinky in the 7th. So your A minor, but let's examine that a little bit closer. So we only need 3 pitches to play A minor, and if you look at this chord, we're playing all 6 strings. But how does it now? What's the purpose of that? I mean, you only need 3 pitches. Why would you play 6 if you only need 3? That's just the nature of some of these chords, and the sound, the quality, and the emotion, and the feel of the chord, the color, if you will. If you look at this chord string by string, if you start from the bottom, if you will, the low E string, you have the pitch of A, followed by E. A, E, sounds familiar, right? A, E, and now we need a C. So the next one, is that a C? No, it's A again. So I have A 2 times in here. Well, that's just, well, nothing wrong with that. I can use the same pitch as many times as I want in the chord. And in this particular chord form, we have it not only once or twice, we have it 3 times, because we actually have a 3rd A right here. We bar this chord, right? So that means on the high E string and on the low E string, you have an A, plus here on the D string in the 7th fret, you have another A. So there's 3 A's in the same chord. Do you need that? No, you don't. You can just do this. It's just as much of an A minor as this. But this form sounds just, it has a little bit more of a drony sound. It's more on the bass side, if you will. It sounds fuller and richer, but that may not always be the chord that you want. Sometimes you want something that has more of just a different ring to it. Something like this, right? This A minor. It's different from that, right? It's the same chord. Same chord, it just has a different color to it. So again, we want to look at this now vertically versus horizontally. And the way you can do that is, and here's one way to do that. You start off with the first 3 strings. We have 3 pitches, 3 strings, and we know in the 5th fret, that's our first position. Now, instead of moving to the right or to the left, I'm moving upward. I said, okay, I'm gonna skip the high E string. Instead, I want to find the pitch of A on the next available string, in this case the D string. Well, it's right here, right? So now I'm playing this A instead of that A. I want to make sure that you see that. Ring finger A instead of this A on the high E string. It may look as if I play the A here, but I don't. So let me just pluck these 3 strings. Here's your A minor. Moving it up a string, well, I'm gonna get rid of this E now because I move everything 1 up, which means I want to keep my C here and I want to keep my A, but I want to find the next available E. Unfortunately, it's right there, right above the A. So all I got to do is this now. And listen to that. Here's my next A minor. And the last A minor, again, same thing. I want to keep my A and my E because I want to keep those 2 strings, but now I want to find the last pitch, in this case it's a C, on the low E string. And guess what? It's right here. That's a pretty dark, oh sorry, very interesting sounding A minor. It's not any different from this A minor, right? Technically speaking, but it just has a different, I think you call it, I have problems pronouncing French words in English, so I try timbre. Is that how you pronounce it, timbre in English? I don't know. So it's just a different, the way it feels, the way it rings in your ear. Darker versus brighter on its most basic level. So going through this real quickly, look at this. The first 3 strings, moving 1 string up, moving 1 string up, moving 1 string up. So now I did the same thing for vertically. And right here I have all these different A minors available, if you will. I can play it this way, I can play it that way, I can play it that way, or I can play it this way, right? So this is just to show you can connect things relatively easy with the help of these decals or these fretboard stickers. They can be very useful. And of course, what we're doing right now is just one specific subset of things you can do. Here I was focusing on A minor, the chord form of A minor. But you can easily also apply the same principle as you work on your modes or scales. I want to show you one last thing, and it may be a little bit out of the blue, if you will, but when you look at chord inversions, there are 2 interesting chord forms, namely the augmented chord and the diminished chord. There's a certain uniqueness to these 2 chords and how you play them on the guitar, and that is, if we go back and just remind ourselves, the first round we played the A minor chord on the high E string, the B string, and the G string, like this, right? As you can see here, I'm changing the positions of my fingers with each inversion. And now I'm moving in the 5th fret and using my index finger for all 3 strings. Here I do something different, and here I do something different altogether again. So I'm moving my fingers around and I reconfigure the position of my fingers. And with the 2 chord forms that I just mentioned, let's start with the diminished chord form. If you look at those inversions, now this chord form goes across 4 strings. So I'm starting actually on the D string, G, B, E. And first I want to give you a flavor of how the chord sounds. It's very interesting. It's a little bit dissonant, but it's very interesting chord form. And now look what I do, and just watch these fingers and what they do. All I didn't change the shape. I just moved it up and down. I didn't have to reconfigure or reposition my fingers, and that's unique to this specific chord form and another form, the augmented form. And that's just because of the way the guitar is laid out. So even though the pitches move around across the 4 strings, you don't have to move your fingers to accommodate for that. It just falls into place so that you don't have to do essentially anything other than moving this shape across the fretboard. So now with the augmented form, that looks like this. Oh, hear that the intonation is a little bit off here. That's not the guitar's fault, that's my fault. I need to adjust, as I said, the intonation. But anyway, you get the principle. So for the diminished and the augmented chord form, you don't have to reposition your fingers. You just move the same shape into the respective frets. But that's it. So I hope that was somewhat helpful and not more confusing than anything. But the purpose of this video was really just to demonstrate however you want to use these fretboard stickers. There is actually purpose for it, and they can be very useful, as ugly as they are. And can't wait to rip them off and get my guitar back again. But for right now, as I continue my thought process, as I try to connect things a little bit better for me and just get a better fluency on the fretboard, this can be actually very helpful because it easily allows me via my vision to identify which notes I'm playing, and it tells me what pitch that is without me having to think now, okay, right here, what pitch is that? Now I know how to get there. I can figure it out, but it might take me a second. And that might be too long as I'm in the middle of playing a solo, or if I have to transition from one chord to another. I just need to know naturally where the notes fall. But I think for me right now that I developed an interest in jazz, I need to figure out how these things connect. Otherwise, I cannot make any meaningful progress. Anyway, I hope it was helpful. If you have ideas, if you have some other useful purpose around how you use these stickers, please share a comment. I would be interested to learn that. Other than that, I hope you have a good Friday. I'm probably going to post another video in a little bit, but for now, goodbye, take care. I'll see you in the next video. Bye bye.